Okay, the Acer Predator Z57 is a monitor that is pure insanity. At 57 inches with a 32:9 aspect ratio and over 1,000 nits of peak brightness, it makes even the best gaming monitors green with envy. It has the size and it has the specs, but as a lot of reviewers will tell you, there's more to a monitor than size and specs alone. Really, it's not hard to walk away impressed when you first see the Predator Z57, but as I've lived with the monitor for a few weeks, I've uncovered some issues that are pretty hard to overlook. The monitor delivers the super impressive experience that 32:9 displays are known for, and with excellent image quality in tow. However, there are a lot of caveats when it comes to actually using the monitor day in and day out, and they're important to talk about because this display costs $2,000. But hey, before getting into the rest of the review, make sure to leave me a like and get subscribed down below, please and thank you. All right, at a high level, this is a 57-inch monitor, 32:9 that's using a VA panel, and critically, it is dual 4K, so that's a resolution of 7680 by 2160. Acer says it has a peak brightness of 1,000 nits in HDR, and it is certified with the Display HDR 1000 certification. It's also using mini LED technology, and it has 2,304 local dimming zones. With those, Acer says you're getting a dynamic contrast ratio of 100 million to 1. No, you're not. I'll get into that a little bit more later. And a response time of 1 millisecond if you're looking at gray to gray. Finally, it has a refresh rate of 120 Hertz and a curve of 1000 R, so a very aggressive curve on this huge monitor. And the size here is actually a really good place to start. I mean, you already know the Predator Z57 is huge, but it's hard to overstate just how massive the monitor actually is. You see, most monitors kind of cheat with their size, like a 27-inch monitor like the Alienware 27 QD OLED, make sure to check out our video review of that, actually uses a 26.5-inch panel, but not the Predator Z57. It's actually cheating in the opposite direction with a 57.1-inch panel and a 32:9 chassis. When it's set up, the monitor is over 4 feet wide, and the massive dual-point stand occupies nearly 2 feet of depth on your desk. If that hasn't scared you off, the monitor also weighs 40 pounds, actually over 40 pounds. Unironically, it is the size of a 5-year-old child. I wish that was a joke, but it's really not. Thankfully, Acer makes good use of the space. There's plenty of branding around the monitor with a large Predator logo on the base of the stand and the name of the brand spelled out on the bottom bezel. Around the back, you get a rectangle of RGB lights where the stand connects to the monitor, and you're free to customize it with different colors and effects through the on-screen display. If you don't like the stand, you can use the 100mm by 100mm VESA mount on the monitor, and in my opinion, that's the best way to go given how much desk space the stand alone takes up. Regardless of your mount, make sure to get a friend to help when setting it up. I actually cut my finger in 2 spots between lifting the monitor out of the box and getting it on a desk, and people say I don't suffer for my work. Massive as it is, the stand offers some solid adjustment points. You get 20 degrees of tilt and 4.3 inches of height adjustment, along with 30 degrees of swivel in either direction. There's no pivot here, however, but that's probably a good thing. You aren't going to be turning this monitor vertical anytime soon, and a slight tweak, even the tiniest little tweak in pivot on a 57-inch ultra-wide monitor, that can literally cause a headache. Acer includes a cable routing channel through the back of the monitor, but it doesn't run out of the front of the display, you know, like where your ports are, so you'll probably see some dangling cables with how far away, for example, the power connector is from your display input. Maybe Acer needed to reinforce the stand to support the monitor, but a proper cable routing channel that runs through the stand would go a long way here. And honestly, some extra long cables for that matter. I mean, this is a $2,000 monitor, we could at least get that. Given the price of this display, you might expect that it is packed with features, maybe something on the level of the Samsung Odyssey OLED G9. Again, we have a video review for that, so make sure to check it out. But it really doesn't have much. This is just a monitor, and although Acer includes a few extra goodies, you don't get a full operating system like you'll find on Samsung's 32:9 OLED. That is a little problematic. It can make using this monitor a hassle given how big it is. For instance, Acer includes picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture modes, both of which are essential for a 32:9 monitor. Instead of quickly accessing these features with a remote, however, you have to slowly go through the OSD, select your inputs, and adjust where you want each input to live. The features are here, but given the gargantuan size of the monitor, I hope they would be easier to set up and adjust. Where the Predator Z57 misses out compared to Samsung's Odyssey G9, however, is the Tizen operating system that Samsung uses. With Samsung's monitor, you can easily pull up a streaming app on one half of the screen while playing a game on the other. Here, you need two separate sources for the picture-by-picture mode. It works pretty well for console gaming, but I found myself resorting to using Windows Power Toys to adjust Windows layouts when I was just using a PC. There's a pretty big downside when using the picture-by-picture mode on the Predator Z57 too. It locks your refresh rate to 60 Hz if you want to use 4K resolution, or 4K for both inputs, or it limits your resolution to 1440p if you want to use 120 Hz. In addition, you can't use HDR when using the picture-by-picture mode regardless of your resolution and refresh rate. Somewhere the Predator Z57 stands out are its speakers. It includes stereo speakers with access to 10 watts of power, and they're surprisingly powerful. I guess it's not that surprising when you consider how massive this monitor really is, but I'm glad to see Acer at least put the extra space to good use. As mentioned, you can only control the Predator Z57 through the OSD, and that's kind of a bummer. There are a ton of monitors in 2024 that allow you to control your monitor with a keyboard and mouse, and that feels sorely missing from the Predator Z57. I mean, you'll want to set it up like several feet away from you given how large it is, which means you have to lean over a lot to access your settings. And you'll need to access them fairly frequently given the picture-by-picture mode and the volume adjustment. The port side of things is much better though. You get dual HDMI 2.1 ports and a DisplayPort 1.4 connection, both of which are capable of delivering the dual 4K resolution at the maximum 120 Hz refresh rate. No, there isn't DisplayPort 2.1 here. Samsung's Odyssey Neo G9 comes with DisplayPort 2.1 and is also a 57-inch ultra-wide monitor, but it also supports double the refresh rate at 240 Hz. Even the RTX 4090 doesn't support DisplayPort 2.1 right now, so the compromise makes sense here, especially given the lower 120 Hz refresh rate. In addition to those inputs, you also get a USB-C input that's capable of 90 watts of power delivery, and I love that inclusion here. With the picture-by-picture mode, you essentially have two fully functional 4K displays, so it's not out of the question to have, for example, your work laptop hooked up with the USB-C connection and your personal PC hooked up on the other side to play a background video or something. Acer even includes a KVM switch so you can quickly swap your peripherals. The Predator Z57 is a bit unruly if you only have one device hooked up to it. All the inputs are great here, and it really sets you up for success for connecting multiple devices to the display so you can take advantage of that picture-by-picture mode. The downside here is that you probably won't want to use the picture-by-picture mode very much considering it's locking your resolution or your refresh rate. That's the big caveat with the Predator Z57 is in order to use all of its features, you have to make some major compromise, and that's pretty disappointing for a $2,000 monitor. An area where the monitor definitely isn't disappointing though is image quality. This is an insane monitor. It's dual 4K, so the resolution is 7680 by 2160, and it uses a mini LED backlight with 2304 local dimming zones. It also has a Display HDR 1000 certification, and Acer claims it has up to 1000 nits of peak brightness. And even with those lofty expectations, the Predator Z57 managed to exceed on just about every front. Starting with color coverage, you're getting 100% of sRGB coverage basically across the board, which shouldn't come as a surprise. In the wide gamut graphics mode, however, you're also getting 97% coverage of DCI-P3 and 93% coverage of Adobe RGB, which is on the level of recent OLED monitors. Obviously, coverage shrinks in other picture mode, but Acer made good on its claims of covering 97% of DCI-P3 here. In addition, color accuracy was basically perfect out of the box when tested against sRGB. Without touching anything, I measured a color error of just 0.76. And after calibrating, it only provided a slight edge, bringing the color error down to 0.71. I mean, that is exceptional color accuracy on the level of something like the Alienware 32 QD OLED. And it's shocking considering the Predator Z57 is using a VA panel. Typically, those don't have the best color accuracy. And if you had any concerns about brightness, you can put them to rest. The Predator Z57 blows past the 1000 nits that Acer claims, reaching up to 1411 nits in HDR. It nearly scratched 500 nits in SDR2, which is insane. Using the monitor, I can tell you that it gets uncomfortably bright if you want it to. With the high level of local dimming zones, you're also getting fantastic contrast. Even with the brightness cranked up, the black level is just 0.02 nits. It's not true black like you find with an OLED, but it's about as close as you're going to get. You're not going to get that crazy 100 million to 1 contrast ratio that Acer claims. I tested somewhere around 70,000 to 1, but at this high of a brightness, it really doesn't matter. You're getting great contrast on this monitor. I was floored when I took the Predator Z57 out of the box due to its massive size, but the image quality is what really sold me on the monitor. It's incredibly sharp, dense with contrast, and ripe with color. No, this isn't what you'll get with a proper OLED display, but it's getting really close. All right, it's time to talk about gaming, and fair warning, I'm gonna complain a little bit. I know, who am I to complain about gaming on this incredibly immersive monitor that comes in at $2,000? It's definitely a unique experience, but the novelty wears off pretty quickly. For me, the massive size of the Predator Z57 becomes too much demands once you actually start putting it through its paces in multiple different games. Let's get this out of the way first though. Yes, this is one of the most, if not the most, engrossing gaming experiences I've ever had. The 57-inch display completely captures your field of view in a game like Cyberpunk 2077, and it makes you feel like you've really stepped into another world. That isn't an exaggeration. I know it kind of sounds like one, but it is so immersive. In fact, I could only play games in short sessions due to the aggressive 1000R curve and how it filled my field of view. I mean, it is really easy to throw around a word like immersive haphazardly, but the Predator Z57 earns it. I wouldn't want to play games like this all the time though. For starters, you can get some motion sickness depending on how close you sit to the monitor. I've heard some doubts about the motion sickness, but in fast-paced games like Marvel's Spider-Man, the speed lines wrapping around the edges of the curved display can create this weird disconnect with your brain. I mean, it's not VR, it's nowhere even close to VR, but I was left feeling a little uneasy after longer play sessions. That's not really my main gripe with the Predator Z57 though. It's just playing games at this insane aspect ratio with these insane specs. A lot of games don't support a 32:9 aspect ratio, and even if they do, you'll be snapped back to 16:9 the moment you open a menu. In games like Elden Ring that don't natively support aspect ratios above 16:9, you can find mods. However, in the case of Elden Ring, and I'm sure other games as well, you'll see objects running at a lower frame rate and being called out of the game world outside of the normal 16:9 window. There's also the resolution to contend with. It's important to remember this is a dual 4K monitor pushing just shy of 16.6 million pixels. That is double the 8.3 million pixels on a 4K monitor. Even with the RTX 4090, I had to massively push down the graphics settings in a game like Cyberpunk and take up tools like DLSS frame generation to get a playable frame rate. Now, I don't think anyone with like a mid-range or especially not a low-end PC is in the market for a $2,000 monitor, but I'd take a really good look at your PC before picking up this display. Unless you have the cream of the crop current gen hardware, I mean like RTX 4090, Ryzen 9000 14th gen Intel, something like that, you're going to run into performance issues. From a gaming standpoint, the strength of the Predator Z57 isn't using it in its 32:9 mode. I mean, you can pull it off occasionally, but the monitor really shines if you think of it as two separate 4K displays. You need to do some tweaking with fancy zones and Microsoft Power Tools to get a layout that works well, but once you do, you can easily have 4 or even more windows on your screen at once, including a game running at full 4K. That's incredible. Console gaming works well too, but once again, if you're using 2 inputs, you're gonna have to either cap the resolution or the refresh rate, and you can't use HDR. That really stings, especially with a console like the PS5 where HDR is supposed to be turned on all the time. My personal issues with the 32:9 aspect ratio aren't a mark against the Predator Z57. I'm well aware of the community of ultra-wide enthusiasts that swear by the aspect ratio for productivity in gaming. However, it's important to point out the pitfalls of 32:9 compared to a traditional 16:9 display. The first impressions of a display like this are often much more rosy than reality, so I'd strongly encourage anyone interested in picking up this monitor to find a demo unit and spend some really good time with it before making a decision. There are only 2 of these 57-inch 32:9 monitors on the market. There's Acer's Predator Z57 and there's the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. Acer comes in at $2,000 while Samsung charges $2,500 for its display, but it has a 240Hz refresh rate. Samsung also requires DisplayPort 2.1 to unlock the full refresh rate, locking out the vast majority of current gen PCs. Still, if you're gonna spend $2,000 on a gaming monitor, you probably want it to last and you probably want to go big. Acer has managed to bring this design down to a more affordable price, if you can even call a $2,000 monitor affordable. I'm just struggling to justify that when Samsung's monitor is only $500 more expensive. And when we're talking about monitors this expensive, $500 really doesn't seem like much. It's not even the 240 Hz refresh rate alone. It's that you can use up to 120 Hz in the picture-by-picture mode on the Samsung display, whereas Acer locks you to 60 Hz. That alone nerfs one of the biggest use cases for a screen this large. The Predator Z57 may stand as a crowning achievement of how big and how bright you can go, but unfortunately, it's not the right monitor for most people. If you're interested in diving into the world of 32:9 monitors, I'd actually recommend the Odyssey OLED G9. It's lower resolution, it's a little bit smaller, but it's OLED and it also comes in at $1,300, so it's significantly cheaper, and trust me, it is just as immersive. All right, but that's about it for me. I want to thank everyone for watching, and make sure to leave me a comment down below about if this 57-inch monitor really makes sense for you, or if you want something a little bit more practical. And hey, I just want to let you know, if you're into gaming monitors and PC gaming in general, we have our Respec newsletter on digitaltrends.com. There's a link in the description that you can use to sign up. I write the newsletter every week talking about all the nerdy news in PC gaming, and I'd really appreciate if you checked it out. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.